Hi, welcome to Chaos to Clarity. I'm meteorologist Bernie Rayno. We're shifting gears. We're done with the tropics. Now we're going into winter mode. Some interesting weather here over the next couple of weeks, including Thursday and Friday, where I do think there's going to be over a foot of snow, or at least the potential for a foot of snow in a couple of spots in the Northeast, Thursday and into Friday. What I'm going to do, I want to show you, go right to our snow map here first. I want to draw on it. I want to show you where we may have to make some changes. We may have to make some changes on this, and I'll explain why in a second. In fact, I just went out on the floor and talked to the forecasting department, which I'm part of, about especially northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and the southern tier of New York, where, you know, it's going to be a real close call here, because I could see how someone ends up 9, 10, 11, 12 inches of snow in that area. Obviously more in the higher elevations, but even in the lower elevations, I think there could be some snow with this. I want to show you the snowfall map. Let me put this on full, and I want to explain this. There are basically going to be two epicenters of this snowstorm. This is going to be epicenter number 1, and this is going to be epicenter number 2. In between these areas, I think you're going to get a lot of snowflakes, and yeah, maybe toward Bradford and DuBois, there could be an inch or two, and sure, up in the mountains and here in New England, there could be a few inches of snow, but make no mistake about it, this is the area that can get thumped in the snow. Northern New Jersey, and I mean Warren and Sussex County, probably not Albany or much of the Hudson Valley, but in this, let me draw this again, in here. This is where I think you've got to watch out for a thump of snow. And I think we are correctly portraying what's going to happen here in the mountains of West Virginia and Western Virginia. That's going to be all upslope. I think this is pretty much a given. What is going to be a difficult forecast is this area. All right, because of course we're early in the season, the ground is warm, but what you're going to end up getting is you're going to get a storm to form along the front, then you're going to get an upper low to come in, and if that upper low strengthens, you're going to generate your own cold air, and all of a sudden, it's going to start to thump snow in a small area, and funny things happens with these upper low, that someone ends up 13, 14 inches of snow. Now, that would likely be up above 2,000, 2,500 feet, but I'm telling you, this is a real tricky call for northeastern Pennsylvania, where I'm from Beaver Meadows, just south of Hazelton. This is going to be really tricky for you as we get into Thursday night and Friday. So this is the snow map. This is it right here. Let me show it to you. Again, I'm worried in this area that this may be a larger area and a little more snow. I like what we have here. And a lot of this other stuff is just, you know, nuisance snow. It's the first flakes of the season for some. I don't think we're looking at any accumulation in Pittsburgh or State College, but I think there's flakes in the air. So let me show you what's going on. And we're going to do models, and then we'll come back to this snow map here in a second. Let me put this on its latest. And what am I doing? Okay, full zoom. Okay, so here's what's going on, okay? Here's our upper low. You can see it across the Midwest. Watch that come eastward. You see this energy coming in? Watch this energy on the southern side. What is eventually going to happen here, this is going to cause a close-off upper low right in here. He's boom, right there. Look at the time. Thursday night into Friday. There it is. That's the key to this storm. Let me explain why. You're going to get this initial piece of energy, 7 o'clock Wednesday in here. This is going to form a storm along our boundary, and this will lift northward. While this goes out to sea, as the upper low forms, the moisture from this storm will get pushed back into the cold air across northeastern Pennsylvania. Let me show you that's going to happen. Let me go to the surface map here. So here's your storm starting to form along the boundary in here. Okay, watch that move northward. This is Wednesday night, Thursday night, Wednesday night, and there it is. Here it is, Thursday morning. There's your storm. You see that? Off the Jersey coast. Now, and I'm going to do a zoom in so you can see it, but I want to get you an overall look at how this is going to evolve. Then as we get into Thursday afternoon, the storm starts leaving. There it is. And what you're going to see here is almost like an umbilical cord. The precip starts filling back well west of the storm center. That's because of the upper low closing off and the flow going easterly. See? See how that precip starts going back. And all of a sudden, you lose that storm, and all of a sudden you have a storm back in here. That's the upper low, right? That's what I'm worried about. All right. Let's go back to let me go to a close-up picture here, and you can see a better idea about what I'm talking about here. We're going to go into the northeast. The key is this upper low, as it normally is. So I'm going to show you this upper low. Watch this. This is Wednesday evening. This is Thursday morning. Now, here's the key move. Here's the key move. Thursday afternoon and then Thursday evening. See what happens? You start closing this upper low back in here across southwestern Pennsylvania. Follow the winds. You're starting to bring in easterly flow. You see, this is backing winds. You see that? Let me go back. Watch how the winds, not only the winds start to back, but you start getting energy coming back. You see this 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 1 a.m. Friday. Look at all of this energy, and you're getting this easterly flow. So think about what's going on. You're getting easterly winds here. So Atlantic moisture is being thrown back into this cold air. You're also going to have upward motion, some strong upward motion. Why? Because you're north of the upper low. So what will end up happening is you're going to cool the column of air. So you're going to generate your own cold air for snow. A lot of that will be with heavy precipitation, but some with height falls. But that's the key, how this upper low comes in and changes the wind flow in eastern out of the east-northeast. Look at that. All right. So follow the upper low. It's going to go like this. It's going to go like this. So where do you get the heavy snow? With the upper low track on the northern side. And that tells me that's northeastern Pennsylvania and the southern tier of New York mostly. And here's the other key. A lot of this will be falling Thursday night into Friday under the cover of darkness. And, during this time of the year, the sun is very strong. And unless it's snowing hard, you will not accumulate it on the ground, but you will at night. So that's the other key. And watch that upper low. We'll go through it again. See, in here, look at that upper low. You get the easterly flow. You throw the cold air back. Now, this is the European model. This is the American model. Very similar. European, 7 o'clock. Thursday, American, 7 o'clock. Very similar. 1 a.m. Friday morning, European, GFS. Now, here's what the difference is. The European is a broader low, has more of an easterly flow that gets back into a larger area. The American model's a little more stringent with the upper low. Watch how it kind of cuts it off a little bit right there. So your moisture doesn't get back into the colder air as far west. So that is the difference in modeling right now. GFS still is snow in northeastern Pennsylvania and in the southern New York, but because it's more of a closed off and not as elongated, and you don't have as broad as an easterly flow, you're not getting as much precip thrown back in there. So there's the American model. There it is by 7 a.m. Friday. There's the European. So they're very similar, about 7 o'clock, but they're a little different in here during this time frame because the European shows a much more stronger easterly flow, bringing all of this moisture back in the northeastern parts of Pennsylvania. And therefore, it has heavier precipitation, more upward motion, and a big thump of snow. Someone's going to get over a foot of snow if this European's correct. Now, the GFS is a little more limited. A little more limited with precip, but it was still snow. All right? So, to me, and then the other epicenter, of course, let's go back, just follow the upper low track. You've got all this west-northwest flow. I mean, perfect upslope flow with colder air coming into the Appalachian spine of the Appalachians. So from the southwestern parts of Pennsylvania, the Laurel Highlands, all the way down in toward Western Virginia, you're going to do quite well. Snowshoe, West Virginia, I think you're going to get a foot of snow out of this pretty easily. Some spots will get a little more just because of the upslope flow here. All right, I showed you the upper levels. Let me show you the surface, and you can see the same thing going on here as I show you the surface. Let's go back. Let's go in here. And again, this is the European model. Watch what it does. When's the time frame we're looking at? Thursday afternoon. See, watch what happens. You think your storm is going out to sea, but remember you're getting the upper low coming in from the west. So watch what the precip does here. From 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, all of a sudden you start seeing this dark blue in here in northeastern Pennsylvania, right? Watch what happens at 1 a.m. So there it is at 7 o'clock, 1 a.m. Look at that. See, this is what I'm talking about, this thump of snow. Why are we getting that at 7 o'clock? Because what happened is, let's go back to the upper low map here really quick, because this is what's going on at 7 o'clock here. See, this upper low right here on the European is, look at this flow coming right in. Tremendous upward motion and easterly flow with heavier precipitation. Look at it at 1 a.m. then. Here's 7 o'clock. Here's 1 a.m. Look at that. Just a perfect, nice easterly flow in here setting up. So that's why, and then you'll notice the American model, a little different on the American model. See, it's not as much with the easterly flow. It's a tighter upper low, so it doesn't have as much moisture. Has upward motion and snow, but not as much liquid. Probably half the amount of liquid that the European has. So that's the difference in modeling here. And you can see when you go back to the surface map again, and I'll show you the difference. Here's the difference. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Let me go back. Here. That's what I want. Okay, sorry about that. Wrong map. I was looking at the snowfall map. So here's the European. See, right? Here's the key. 7 o'clock. Look at that dark blue. See? In here. Because of that upper low track. Now, that's the European. Let's look at the American model. Notice the difference. European GFS. Still has a little farther north, the European GFS. And then 7 a.m. European GFS. European GFS. A little farther north, 7 a.m. Friday morning. European GFS. European GFS. 1 a.m. Friday morning. European GFS. Similar, but you see how the European keeps it longer in that area? The GFS already lifts it out. So even the GFS has a period of heavy snow in northeastern Pennsylvania, but it's not as long, so the amounts are less. All right, but I think those are the keys to the snow. And again, there's two main epicenters with this. Let me go back to the snowfall map. Yeah, there. So 2 epicenters. 1 and 2. I like what we have here. This is the tricky part. If the GFS or the American model would verify with that upper low track, if it would, I think this is what it would look like a little bit here. My concern is, though, that the GFS is on 2 isn't capturing this upper low enough. I think there's going to be a dynamic system. Here's what I would worry about in the Northeast. I like this area in here. I think this is fine. This is the tough area, you know, because you can see a scenario like this. And even in the valley cities around Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, you'd get a couple of inches of snow at least. You know, I can make the argument, if the European's right, you would get 4 or 5 inches of snow in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, in the valley cities. All right. So I can make that argument. My concern is here's your 1 to 3. Here's your 3 to 6. It's much broader, certainly. Comes in here. Maybe goes a little bit around the valley cities. Let me try this again. Like this. Right? Your 3 to 6 comes west. Certainly into Binghamton. You know, even in the Williamsport, we get a few inches. Your 3 to 6 comes down into here. And then you have a 6 to 12 in this zone, and that would be near Binghamton, in here. Probably not down to the Hazleton area. Probably not. But it might get close. It might get something like this. And this is the concern in here. Now, we're going to have to see on this one. I think by tomorrow we'll have a good idea. But again, if the European would actually verify and that upper low does what it may, there's where the thump of snow would be. You know, in the Binghamton area, southern tier of New York, even northwest hills in New Jersey, a lot of snow geese in New Jersey. You can get 3 or 4 inches out of this, maybe even more. I mean, it's a real tough call in this area. Okay? Now, if you're in Harrisburg, Philadelphia, you're not going to get anything out of this. State College, Pennsylvania, I don't think we're going to get anything more than a few flakes. Altoona, listen, Johnstown, you can get a few inches of snow. You're higher up with the snow showers, and you're going to get some upslope flow. There won't be anything in Pittsburgh. There won't be anything in Erie. All of eastern Ohio, there won't be anything. These are the two areas to watch in here. Area number 1. This is area number 1. And area number 2. All right. So this is a tough call. Now, most of this, again, in Northeast PA will be Thursday and Friday. Now, beyond this, by the way, there's some interesting patterns showing up here as we move forward. Let me end with that quick. I'm just going to show you the European really quickly and kind of look at what I'm looking at here really briefly as we get into next week and beyond. So here's the European. Hopefully I can go out a little bit next week. So you know what you're starting to see here? You're starting to see the jet stream come a little farther south. By the time we get into, see what's going on here? You're starting to get a buildup of cold air in here. This is around Thanksgiving Day, right? You have a frontal boundary in here. You have energy coming around. You get storms in here. And eventually, will you get a storm that can tap into this cold air, right? Let's go forward here. You see what's going on here? This is Friday the 29th. Yep, you have a front offshore. Everything's offshore, but look at what's happening now. You're building the cold. This is on the 29th. You're starting to build the cold across the Midwest. Let's see how far this goes out. And what I think will end up happening is, with the way the trough is set up here, you get these troughs in here that keep going by to the north, but you get a frontal boundary stuck in here, and eventually what happens is you get a storm on the boundary, you have cold air, and all of a sudden you get a snowstorm out of this. Somewhere now, it more likely would be across New England, but you can kind of see, reading between the lines, what can happen with this pattern. Let's go out a little farther here. You see what I mean? You just keep building the cold air, you keep this trough in here, and you keep pushing the cold air. I'm waiting for the model to run here. See, this is December 1st now. You have cold air. You have energy in here. It comes around the base of the trough. I'm waiting for the surface panel to show up. And what ends up happening at some point in early December, you get a storm that tries to form down along this front. It comes northward, and all of a sudden you have enough for cold air. You have enough cold air for snow. Now, this time of the year, the I-95 corridor, besides Boston, is probably out. Like in New York City, Philadelphia, I mean, it would probably be off to your north and west. I know people along the I-95 corridor don't like that statement, but that's just the way climatology is right now. I'm waiting for the surface map, but you can see the upper air. You see that? You're built in there, and then all of a sudden you get this, and you get a storm that tries to form in here. This is what I'm talking about. As this trough comes through, we'll take a look at the surface map. But let's see, we're out through Saturday. See what's going on? Even on Saturday the 30th, you have a front in here, and you have energy coming down. Let's see what it looks like on the 1st. And again, we're just looking at the pattern. You don't want to read into too much into it. But the fact that I see this upper air pattern, as we get into early December, this looks primed to me for the beginning of a snow season. See what the European has? See, this is what I'm talking about. You get something like this. That's what I'm looking at. Now, in early December, is the storm going like this, right? Or is the trough farther west and the storm's coming like this? But you're already seeing the earmarks that early December is going to be very interesting. Now, right now, even the European is now the Europeans are correct. You can't read too much into the exact details, but the fact that you're starting to build the cold air here, and you've got the northern branch, you've got a little bit of a southern branch. Now you have something to work with if you're looking for snow. Early December. Now, the modeling here has this offshore. You see that? That it tries to snow all the way up into toward New York City. I would bet you that instead of the storm going here, it may be a little farther west and it comes up the spine of the Appalachians and your snow's back in here. We'll see. But let's earmark this. Early December looks very interesting from the Midwest toward the Northeast. All right. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions for us, you can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm at AccuWeather.